Thanks for the introduction, and thanks to the organizer for giving me the opportunity to share with you some insight about what we are doing at GSK, especially at the preclinical level of the discovery unit. And I promise you I'm going to talk only a bit about GSK, and then I will focus the rest of my talk mainly on vaccine, especially on the current strategy that we are using at GSK to secure the future of mainly the therapeutic vaccine development. So this is my disclosure statement. So who are we? So as you may know, GSK is a science-led organization. So currently there is approximately 2,000 scientists that are working for GSK in 3 different R&D centers. We have 1 center in Belgium, 1 in Siena and in Italy, and 1 in US. The good point of being located in 3 different countries is that you have strong diversity as well complementarity, and it's also a good asset when you try to attract specific talented scientists. So GSK has a long history of innovation. And currently, we have approximately 180 external scientific collaboration to help the company to stay at a high level in term of innovation, because we know that it's really critical for us to secure the future. And on this slide, basically, you can see that the innovation is really at the heart of our DNA, because, for example, in 1950, we were the first to produce the oral polio vaccine. Then, a couple of years after, we produced the first recombinant vaccine in context of hepatitis B. More recently, we proposed the reverse vaccinology approach that was successfully used to develop the Bexsero vaccine, which is a vaccine against meningitis B for children. And a couple of years ago, in 2017, we used our internal expertise in terms of adjuvant research to develop the Shingrix vaccine, which is a combination of one of our most advanced adjuvant with a recombinant platform. And this vaccine was able to prevent the reactivation of the varicella zoster virus, with an efficacy up to 95%, which was quite amazing. So I hope you will all agree with me if I'm saying that vaccine was one of the most cost-effective means to save lives, to preserve good health, and also to maintain high quality of life. So we have developed approximately, for the moment, just to give you an idea, there is 70 different vaccines on the market, and 40 of them has been developed by GSK. And for the moment, we are selling every day approximately 2 million of doses of vaccine across the world, which is good, but what about the future? So how GSK is going to secure the future in terms of vaccine development, so in which area GSK is investing currently. So at the discovery unit, especially on the preclinical team, we are focusing mainly on emerging fields like antimicrobial resistance for the moment, therapeutic vaccine, and the universal one-dose vaccine. So why? Basically because in context of antimicrobial resistance, there is a growing concern, especially for public health, because there is several reports that claim that antimicrobial resistance will kill approximately 10 million of people by 2050, which is more than cancer actually, which is approximately 8 million of people. So that's why our objective in that specific field is to develop prophylactic vaccine that will prevent people from being infected with the superbugs, which is the bacteria that are likely to be resistant to antibiotic in the future. So we are putting also lots of effort on the therapeutic field to develop vaccine against infectious, but also non-infectious disease, because for some chronic disease like, for example, hepatitis B, papillomavirus, genital herpes, or even cancer, the medical need is very high, and having a therapeutic vaccine that will control or clear the infection for that specific people infected with the disease could be really transformational. And last but not least, I think this is not a secret if I'm saying that GSK is investing a lot to develop a universal one-dose vaccine against flu, influenza. And this vaccine basically aims to tackle different serogroups at the same time that will prevent people from being vaccinated every year. So because I won't have time to talk in details what we are going to do for these 3 different fields to secure future development, I'm gonna speak only about what we are doing to do in the therapeutic field. So how to do it? So how GSK? What is the thing that GSK currently is putting in place and is used also in the past to secure the development of the therapeutic vaccine? Personally, for me, my opinion, it's also the one shared by GSK. It's to leverage all the new technology that we have currently in our hands to be able to more rationally design our therapeutic vaccine. Because as you know or not, but vaccines have been historically developed in an empiric way. So I have to confess that this way was quite successful for a lot of prophylactic vaccines that are currently on the market. But the recent clinical failure, especially again complex disease like cancer again, HCV, HPV, genital herpes, show really the limitation of using the traditional, the empirical approach in context of therapeutic vaccine. So developing therapeutic vaccine at the discovery level for GSK, for a vaccine organization, it's very challenging because you need to know the right antigen that you need to target, that will drive your therapeutic response, but also the right technological platform that will drive the expected immune response against this antigen. And this needs to be done, as I told you, at a very early level, and mainly in a situation when you don't know a lot about the mechanism, the immune mechanisms that are associated with the protection, with the control of the infection, or even with the clearance of the infection. Because by opposition to the traditional vaccine that basically trying just to mimic what natural immune response does, like for example the prophylactic vaccine, the response that you try to induce is multifunctional antibody response, mainly neutralizing antibody. In context of therapeutic vaccine is different because you really try to induce effective cytotoxic T cell response, which is not very easy to induce with a technological platform. And you try also for some disease to combine the induction of a strong T cell response with a multifunctional antibody response because you really need the both to drive the control or the protection of the disease. So I told you, so we have to do that with limited information regarding the correlate of protection. And new approaches are really required to accelerate vaccine development and increase the probability of success. Because in context of therapeutic vaccine, if basically you're trying just to mimic what natural immune response does, there is a very huge risk in terms of clinical failure, because you will need to induce an immune response, a strong immune response, also in a context when you have lots of immune evasion mechanisms that are already in place. And maybe for that specific pathogen, you need to attack them in a way where it's not prepared to react, basically by inducing unnatural immune response. And this is what we are trying to do at the discovery unit of GSK. So basically, I told you that you need, when you develop a therapeutic vaccine, you need to know the target, and then you need to know which platform you need to select to induce the right immune response. That's why GSK have put and is still putting a lot of effort to improve antigen target identification. So we all know the limitation of the preclinical model, especially in context of therapeutic vaccine. We don't have lots of challenge models that are really mimic what's happened in humans. So basically, you cannot use this model to predict the antigen that you will have to target, or even the efficacy of your vaccine. That's why at GSK we realized that the first thing that we really need to have is to have access to the right samples. So by right samples, basically I mean human biological samples in the majority of the case. And to have access to these samples, for example, for therapeutic vaccine, what we try to do is basically to have access to samples from population of patients that control the infection and from population of patients that don't control the infection. And then we want to do associated analysis just to trying to identify what makes the difference between the both populations. So, once we have access to these samples, we leverage our internal expertise and also our external collaborator basically to have access to the new cutting edge technology to do basically epigenetics now, metabolomics, proteomics, transcriptomics study to generate big set of data. So why big set of data? But just to generate as much data as we can. And in context of therapeutic vaccine, we use as well more and more the single-cell RNA-seq technology, combined or not with the site-seq, to analyze in deep the immune response, but also to do BCR and TCR repertoire analysis, because it's very critical when you try to identify target antigen, especially when you compare two different populations. So once we have all this big data set that is generated at GSK, basically GSK is going to lock virologists, immunologists, and data scientists in a room for 6 months to push them to study in deep the host-pathogen interaction, because we know that it's very critical if you want to identify the target to know exactly what the pathogen is doing in the host. So now we have all the technology in our hands to do it, which is quite exciting because we can discover lots of stuff by doing that. And in parallel as well, what we are implementing at GSK, it's machine learning and algorithm prediction, because we have the data set that is required basically to train the algorithm to improve the predictability of this algorithm in terms of antigen target identification or immune response that we need to induce. So, if this approach is successful, so I really hope that is going to be the case, basically we'll be able to move from a descriptive pluriparametric immunology toward a more predictive one, which is really critical for the future, I think, for the company. So, I don't have probably to tell you, but basically what we're trying to do is to transform big data to smart data, which should be predictive. So then, okay, we have the antigen. Thanks to all this technology, we identify or we de-risk basically the antigen selection, and as well we know what kind of immune response we need to induce. What we still need to know is which platform we need to use to induce this type of immune response, which is not always easy to select, because we are trying to develop vaccine for baby, older adult, young adult, or even adult, immunocompromised or immunosenescent people, and this platform are not able to reproduce all the time the same type of immune response regarding the different population. That's why we still invest a lot in terms of characterization of the mode of action of our different platform, to know, once we know the type of immune response that you need to induce in that specific population, to know exactly which platform can do the job versus those that cannot do the job. We still invest, especially in context of therapeutic vaccine, when we try to induce T-cell response on new platform, like the chimpanzee adenovirus platform, but Stefania will show you all the potential of this platform this afternoon. And we have invested as well a lot on the mRNA SAMP Amplify platform, which is called the SAM platform. I'm going to show you some information after this slide on this platform, which is very important for us, because this specific platform has a very huge potential for the future in terms of vaccine development. So we are also trying and testing and studying different combinations. For example, the combination could be the vaccine, a technological platform with a drug, with an adjuvant, or maybe combining different technological platforms to improve the immunogenicity, or to trying to shape a specific the response to our specific area. And because, of course, we know that the route of immunization can also shape the type of immune response that you are going to induce, especially when you're trying to tackle pathogens that are at the mucosal side. So basically, we are investing, we have decided to develop new route of immunization for that specific pathogen. So in terms of antigen design, I know that some people from ProImmune will talk a bit about that as well, but basically, of course, once you have selected your antigen and your platform, you still need to be really sure that your antigen will be optimally designed to induce the expected immune response. And for that specific area, there is a lot of new tools available currently on the market that will allow you to specifically design your antigen to induce the type of immune response that you really want to do. So just an example of the SAM platform that we have currently at GSK. So this platform is a fully synthetic mRNA platform. It's based on a modified alphavirus genome that has the ability to self-amplify, and because it doesn't have the structural gene of the alphavirus, it cannot produce infectious particles, which is good in terms of safety. To protect basically the mRNA, we need to formulate this vector with a synthetic formulation that are either cationic nanoemulsion or lipid nanoparticle, and this formulation also help the vaccine to have a better efficacy and immunogenicity as well. So what is the advantage of the SAM platform compared to the current one? Basically, it's the main advantage is that it's fully synthetic, very easy to produce. It doesn't require cells to be produced, basically. In a couple of weeks, you can have a vaccine ready to use, which is quite amazing. And it's a very versatile platform. You can induce both T-cell response and B-cell response, which is very critical for therapeutic vaccine. For example, here you have just a couple of data showing that, for example, in context of when you use RSV antigen, so that the SAM, which is here, LNP, which formulated in LNP, induce nice neutralizing antibody response compared to RNA vaccine only, or compared to the VRP. Again, it can reduce the colonization of the RSV into the lung, so you have a reduction of the viral load, and compared to the RNA vaccine alone, you have a very nice increase in terms of CD4 and CD8 T-cell response, and being able to induce the both type of immune response, the CD8 and the CD4 T-cell response, depending on your antigen, of course, is really critical for the therapeutic vaccine as well. This is just to show you that this vaccine has a real potential to be used in a context of personalized cancer vaccine, because it's fully synthetic, it's easy and fast to produce. So basically, you could imagine from the sample acquisition to the treatment delivery to have the vaccine ready in couple of weeks, which could be really again transformational for the patient with cancer. So in conclusion, personally, I think that if you can combine the scientific, the medical, and the biotechnology innovation with the right samples, or even in the future, I think that it's going to be database, we will be able to reduce the risk associated with therapeutic vaccine development, and we will, of course, expand the horizon of the tomorrow vaccine in area where we never think that totally that the vaccine could do the job. So I would like to thank you, everybody, for your intention, and if you have any question, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Maria. It's great.